Hello everybody, I'm the mathematical and here we're gonna talk about roots. What are roots? Well, roots are getting a number by multiplying two similar numbers together. If you get two numbers, multiply them together and the answer is the number under the root, that's a root. Roots have different kinds. Let's see together. Different kinds of roots. There are a lot of different kinds of roots. First, square root, second, cube root, and other kinds of roots. Here is a root question, how to answer roots. This is called square root, a square root, okay? How it's pronounced, the square root of the number under it. So in this case, the square root of 4, okay? The first way the square root can be written is the square root without a 2. And then the second way with the square root with a 2 that indicates that this is a square root. But both are very similar and have the same meaning, an exact calculation. So, first, how do we answer square roots? We make blank spaces and we put the multiply symbol between each one of the spaces. So each one of the spaces there's a multiply symbol, okay? So how do we decide how many spaces we will make? Well, can you see the number 2 above the square root? Okay, focus on the square root with the number 2 on it a little bit. It has the number 2, right? Well, that's the number of how many spaces are made. So the number 2 is above the root. That means it indicates as a square root and indicates how many spaces we put. And of course, remember the spaces between them have a multiply symbol, each one of them, okay? Now, what now? What we'll do now? Okay, can you find the number 4 under the two square root symbols? Yeah, there's a number 4 under it. Well, you plot it in this, you put it in the answer spot. Put it in there. So what now? What times what equals the number under the square root? So what times what equals 4? Okay, another quick reminder. The two blank spaces must be the same. So 1 times 2, 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 2, and so on. But now the answer is 4, so we can't do anything. We have to make a multiplication. So now we will make a multiplication. Let's try this. 2 times 2. Let's check. The same two numbers, 2 and 2, between each blank space or 2 or the number 2 is a multiply symbol and the answer is 4, that's the number under the square root. Okay, that seems perfectly fine. Okay, now let's decompose this equation that we did out of the square root into the answer of the actual square root. Now we got the square root of 4 and we decomposed it to 2 times 2 equals 4. Now what is the answer from this equation? Well, the answer is one of the 2's. Do you see the 2 2's? We take one of them. One only. One of them and we put it in the answer. So the square root of 4 equals 2. That means the answer 2, the square root of 4 equals 2. That means 2 times 2 equals the number under the square root, which is 4. How to answer cube roots? Well, we finished off square roots. What the flip is cube roots? Well, cube roots is only written in one way, not like the square root. It's written in one way only. A root and above it a 3 to indicate it's the cube root, okay? Let's explain what it does. Do you remember the square root? Well, it's quite very similar. Here's the way you can do it. First, do you remember in the square root, the number under the root 27 is in the answer? This is the same. The number above the root will be the number of spaces. So the number is what? 3. 3 spaces between them a multiply symbol, and the 3 spaces must be the same 3 numbers, have the same 3 numbers in them. So let's try this. You keep trying and you eventually find 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. So let's check. 3 all of the numbers in the blank spaces, or all of the threes, are the same. Between them a multiply symbol. The answer is the number under the cube root, which is 27. So let's revise the question real quick. You might make something wrong. So 3 times 3 equals 9. 9 times 3 equals 27. Yeah, it seems correct. Let's move on to the decomposing the answer. Now, decomposing the answer. We decomposed the square root. We regrouped the answer to the answer. We regrouped the equation to the answer of the cube root. Okay? So the question first began the cube root of 27. We broke it down to 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. So, don't get confused. The number above the cube root doesn't match the numbers in the equation. So the number 3 above the cube root isn't the answer. You gotta try, okay? So don't depend on the number above the square root, because it's totally wrong. You keep going on and making more things. Like sometimes cube roots can be very difficult. So 1.5 times 1.5 times 1.5. So keep trying. Don't depend on the 3 above the square root. This is definitely wrong, okay? Do you see in the equation they decomposed the cube root of 27? 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. You see 3 threes. You take only one and you plot it in the answer. So 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. So the answer of the cube root of 27 equals 3, and 3 only, because this is 27 and you already decomposed it. So the answer is 3. Okay, so the cube root of 27 equals 3. That means 3 times 3 times 3 equals the number under the cube root. In this case, it's 27. Okay, now we realize a little trick. Okay, we realize it. Similarities between square roots and cube roots. Did you realize something about the names of the two roots, the square root and the cube root? Well, do you realize something? Square root, cube root. The square root looks like a square and the cube root looks like a cube. So what is going on? Well, the square root, wait, it's second dimensional. Yes, that's what I want you to get. Second dimensional. That means the number under the square root means another thing. The first things is the number above the square root. Is in this case now it's 2. The number above the square root, it's 2. What are the 3 rules it does to the root? The number is 2. Indicates it's a cube root. 2 equals square root. 2 equals square root. So if there's a 2 above the root, it's a square root. Then the second thing, the amount of spaces. And the third thing, second dimensional. 2-dimensional shape. So remind yourself like this. 2 above the root equals square root. 2 above the root, how many spaces are made? And the 2 above the root means second dimensional, 2D shape, which is always a square, nothing else. Why? Because a square is the only quadrilateral or the four-sided shape, or the second dimensional shape that has 4 equal sides. 4 equal sides. That's why I say the 2 numbers in the blank spots needs to be the same, because the square root means a square. It's a square. So If you change the dimensions, it will be completely different. It will be a rectangle. So two numbers must be the same. Okay, now let's go to the cube root. Okay, let's go to the cube root. Now, cube root. Let's see now. The square root, the square root, the root is above it a 2. The cube root, the root above it the 3. I'm sorry because I put down the 2 for accidentally. I'm very sorry. But the square root needs to have, the cube root needs to have a 2 above, a 3 above it, and the square root needs to have a 2 above it. Okay, let's see the 3 above the root. Indicates it's a cube root. Indicates how many spaces are made. And indicates its third dimensional shape. A third dimensional shape. Okay, 3D, 2D, cube, square root, cube, 2D, cube root, 3D. Okay, so now you put 8. Okay, you put 8 under the cube root. That means the answer is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. So it shows. Here we go. It has a very teeny tiny trick. Okay? This is third dimensional. Okay? The answer of the number under the cube root needs to be the 3 sides of the cube, because there's a 3 above the root. So let's add another thing to the cube root, and the square root also, I forgot to mention. Okay, the 2 indicates how many spaces are made, and another 2. This 2 indicates second dimensional. Another 2 indicates it's second dimensional, and the 2 indicates how many blank spaces are made, and the 2 indicates, remember the blank spots, how many blank spots, and how many sides on the shape. So you bring a square on the cube, on the root it says a 2, so you take 2 of the sides and you put the perimeter of the 2 sides, and it gets 1 of the sides. Okay, the perimeter means how many spaces are in each side, and you add them together. It gets 1 of these sides. Now the cube root, you get the 3. It means how many spaces are made. It's a third dimensional shape, has 3 blank spots, and 3 sides from the third dimensional shape, which has to be a cube. Okay, third dimensional shape. The only shape that has all sides equal and the third dimensional shape. Okay, it's the cube. Okay, now the cube. The 3 above it, we have how many sides we take. Okay, 3 sides only. It makes 1 of these sides equals what? Okay, 1 of these sides equals what? Now, thank you for watching this amazing video by Omar Abdurrahman Muhammad Hussein, aka the Mathematical, and see you later in the next video. Bye bye. I really hope you see the perimeter video because it's really helpful in roots. So I hope you watch this video, and I'm gonna miss you all and see you in the next video. Bye bye.